Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Gregg. Welcome to today's reading lesson. I'm so glad to have you on here watching today. So today we're going to be reading some and we're going to be talking about questions, and I wanted to start with telling you the things that you'll be able to do by the end of today's lesson. So the first one, these are called I can statements. So this says I can identify real life connections between words and their use. So we're going to talk about some vocabulary words today and how they can connect to our real life. The next statement says, I can ask and answer questions. So we're going to start a new story today called Spoon, and we're going to ask and answer questions in that story. The last I can statement says, I can express ideas using evidence from text and illustrations. So evidence is what we use when we want to prove something in the story. So you might have an idea, but you have to prove it using evidence from the story that we've read. So before we start reading, we're going to talk about some power words that are in our story. And these are our vocabulary words for this week. So the first word is proper. I want you to say the word proper. Proper. Very good. So let's talk about what the word means. I want you to take just a minute and look at the picture. So someone who is proper is polite and behaves well. So you see those girls are having a tea party and they're using their manners and acting proper. So it is proper to pour tea to your guest before serving yourself. And that's what the little girl is doing. She's pouring a cup of tea. The next word that we have is blue. Now, blue is a word that we might think of when we think of a color, but in this case, we might think of it in a different way. So there's the picture. I want you to say the word blue. Blue. So when you feel blue, you feel sad. And this reminds me of our zones that we talked about last year. If you're in the blue zone, you may feel sad. William felt blue when he could not go to the party. So you can tell on his face he's feeling sad. So I'm going to make a sad face too. So Miss Gregg is blue because she misses all of you. All right, our next word is useful. Useful. I want you to say the word useful. Useful. Very good. So something that is useful is helpful. So you can see they're eating a bowl of spaghetti, and the person is using a spoon to help them twirl the spaghetti around. So forks and spoons are very useful at mealtime. So if I hold up a pen is useful for writing. So that's the word useful. And our last word today is the word realize. So I want you to say the word realize. Realize. Very good. So realize, when you realize something, you know it or understand it. It makes me think of when people say the light bulb goes off in their head. It means you know something or you realize it. It took Jen a minute to realize the answer. So I think about babies too. Like babies may not realize that the weather changes, but we do. So realize just means to know something. All right, so we went over our power words. Now we're going to be looking in your My Book. So take just a second, get your My Book out. I'll get mine ready, and then we'll start reading on page 40. So turn there real quick, and then we'll start reading together. All right, hopefully you are on your page in the My Book, page 40. Before we start, though, I want to talk about some strategies that good readers use when they aren't sure maybe what a word is or what it should sound like. So this is called monitor and clarify. So monitor means to pay attention, and to clarify means to maybe check again if it doesn't make sense. So it says, pay attention as you read. If something doesn't make sense, try these things to help you understand. So one strategy that we do if we don't understand is to reread something. So we can reread the part of the text that you don't understand. So if you ever read something and you're like, what? I don't know what I just read. then it's good to go back and read it again. Even as an adult and a grown-up, I have to go back and read things sometimes more than once. Another strategy is to use what you already know to connect to the text. So you can say, this part reminds me of, and then think to the part it reminds you of. The third strategy is to ask questions. So you ask questions about the part that you don't understand. So the question on there you could ask is, what was the paragraph mostly about? Why did the main character say that? So these are things you might wonder as you're reading. You might say, why did they say that? I'm going to find out. The last thing that's important is to look for visual cues. So visual means we see it with our eyes. So we want to think, how can the headings, captions, pictures, or special type help me? So I've got an example book I want to show you. This is a book about plants. So you can see here is the text. Many plants grow flowers. Flowers are where most seeds begin. And so here is the illustration, and they have labels for each flower. So sometimes if we don't understand, we can look at the illustrations or the picture and look at the captions or the labels. So here's another side that shows you the labels. So it tells you the petal and it points to it. These are ways that it can help you if maybe you aren't quite sure of what's going on when you read it the first time. So we want to look for these things called labels and captions to help you. All right, so we're going to use those strategies today when we read the book Spoon, and we are on page 40. So this is a special genre that we are reading called a fantasy. So fantasies are stories with made-up events that could not really happen. As you read Spoon, look for characters who are not found in real life, the setting or where the story takes place, and a lesson the main character learns. So when I think about fantasies, I usually think of characters who are talking that maybe aren't really talking in real life. For example, a spoon. So we know in real life our spoons do not have eyes and eyebrows and arms and legs and a mouth. So we know this is a fantasy or a made-up story. It could not really happen. But these are really fun to read and to pretend. And here are our power words again: proper, blue, useful, and realize. So as you read, stop and think if you don't understand something. Reread, ask yourself questions, use what you already know, and look for visual clues to help you understand the text. Now, we're going to be reading the text together today. And as we read, I will be asking you some questions. So I'm going to put that on a separate video just so that we can make sure we have plenty of time to read through the story. So please make sure you go to the next video to listen to the read aloud of Spoon.